Hi, welcome to Business Forward. This is Travis Markwood with the Lancaster-Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce. I'm joined here today with Dr. Anna Hopkins. We're here at True Vision Eye Care. How are you, Doctor?
Fine. Thanks for welcoming me in, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're glad to be here. We're right out here on East Main Street in the old Big Bear, if you will, shopping plaza here, and we've got a great office here set up with, gosh, just a tremendous selection when it comes to retail, when it comes to eyeglass options. But before we take a look at some of the different things that you carry here, I want to talk a little bit about how you got your business started. I know we were fortunate enough to be part of your ribbon cutting and your opening here of your office, but you've been in the eye care industry for quite some time, correct?
That's correct. I've been in Lancaster actually now for over 25 years. I started out at the mall for the first 23 years, and we've been here now going on 3 years. So I've been around Lancaster for a while and I really enjoy the community.
Absolutely. Hard to believe that you've been here for 3 years already, but it seems like yesterday we were in here and having a nice ribbon cutting ceremony. But let's talk about the industry in general. I'm sure you've seen a tremendous amount of changes in the industry. What's kind of the big thing right now when it comes to eyeglass?
Well, as far as eyeglasses, color's great. Bigger but thinner is very popular. So there's lots of different styles that we have, and I've got a wide variety from totally rimless, where it's just the drill mounts, to some of the big funky styles that the kids like.
Sure, sure. And I have to assume eyeglass styles are kind of like fashion in general. Stuff comes around, goes around, makes its way back around, correct?
Absolutely. Some of the popular styles are the retro styles that were around back in the 50s and 60s. It was great to have my dad in a pair of glasses that was really up to date, and he liked them because they reminded him of glasses that he grew up with.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned some of the rimless. What are some other technologies that are in, kind of going into some of the lenses? I know we were talking a little bit before the show. There's just a whole wide variety of technology that goes into these, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's the metals, they're making those really thin and light, which is nice, and adding color to it. So the metals actually can have different colors as well. The big thing with the technology, the advancements, is the lens technology. Okay. And we've got different treatments, special treatments to the lenses that help filter out the blue light, which is becoming a very big concern because of computers, handheld devices. We're on them a lot more than we were, and even the compact fluorescent tubes that we have to use now from the energy standpoint, sure, actually produce more blue light, and something that people don't realize is that affects your sleep cycle. So I tell people, don't turn off your computers before about 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed to help you get a better night's sleep, because it suppresses the melatonin. So then sometimes you fall asleep and then you wake up 2 or 3 hours later wide awake and wondering why. So that's a big concern, but with the new lens technology, we can block out more of that blue light, because we don't know long-term how bad it's going to be, but we do know that the blue light will also affect the macula and the lens of the eye, so you can get macular degeneration and cataracts from all this exposure to the blue light.
Wow, yeah, something you just don't think about. Most people are, on their smartphones or whatever, just all the time, and close to where before you go to bed, you're checking this and that and email. So yeah.
Yeah, and then the kids are on the computers. They're given computers now at school and are expected to stay on those. And there's special lenses that we can give kids that have a little bit of stress relieving for them to work on the computer. Sure. And as far as adults, I know a lot of times people are saying, oh, I get a stiff neck from working on the computer. We've got special lenses that are set up so that the patient can see the computer distance, what they're looking at, and still see people behind or across the room. So it works out really well, and they're not ending up with a stiff neck, and adjusts well to the different areas that they work. Sure,
sure. Now, how many different manufacturers are you carrying approximately in your showroom?
As far as frames, oh geez, probably about 8 or 10. I like a variety, and I've got I was always frustrated finding frames that would work for me because I had a small face and a very thick prescription, and so some brands are very good that way, and then we have ones that are, like I said, with handmade in Austria that are rimless, and those are really nice, really light. And then we have a smaller company that is here in the United States and competes with the big guys and doesn't have the fancy names, but has really good quality frame material for a little less expensive than the name brand. But we have the name brand too, Salvatore Ferragamo and Calvin Klein. And
okay. Now I noticed that you have some sunglasses here too. Are those prescription for the most part, or do you sell both?
We sell both. We have lenses available for wearing over your contact lenses, or if you don't need a prescription. And then any frame can be made into a prescription sunglass too, so you're not limited in that way. You can choose anything you want and
very nice, and
have that made as a sunglass frame.
Yeah. Now I have children, and so have they invented the glasses that are impossible to lose yet?
No, that would be nice, but
well, I wish I would have had those about 6 or 8 months ago. So.
But it is important too for the kids to be wearing protection from the sunlight, because just like you put sunscreen on, our eyes need protection too. As a matter of fact, the younger eyes, the lens is so nice and clear, it just lets more sun exposure in. So the majority of our sun exposure is before the age of 18. So it's really important that the kids wear sun protection, the UV protection, not just from the standpoint of the eyes, but also our vision, but you can get skin cancer around the eye, and it's a very popular place for that. So wearing the sunglasses where you can't put the sunscreen protects the eyes as well.
Absolutely. Good to know. Well, I know there's a lot more to see here. We want to get into a little bit more of what a customer might experience when they come here to maybe have an eye exam, talk a little bit about some of the things we're seeing in terms of folks' eye trouble and some different diseases and things that we're seeing. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think most people would be kind of surprised that when you get here, there's no paperwork to fill out. We have you sit with our receptionist and our history taker, and she goes through a long list of questions, which a lot of patients are confused about, but once you realize how important all the other parts of the body are in affecting the eyes and what you do with your eyes, it all comes into play. But we take a pretty thorough history to find out how you use your eyes and what medicines and other things that you do that may be affecting the health of your eyes and how you see.
Perfect. Well, if you don't mind, can we go take a look at some of the
Absolutely.
examination rooms? Okay, great. Let's go. Okay, we're here in what we're calling the pre-testing room, and again, we're at True Vision. This is Dr. Hopkins, and Dr. Hopkins, what are we looking at here in terms of some of this equipment, and what might a patient experience when they come to this room first?
Well, one of my technicians will bring the patient in here, and we'll do a number of tests. The first one screens the vision, much like you get at the driver's license.
Okay.
We check the distance, the near each eye alone, and gives me a good starting point. And then we have an autorefractor that measures the approximate prescription that it would take for glasses, and so it helps me so that the patient doesn't have to worry so much about better one or two. It's not the final prescription, but it's a very good piece of backup information. And then everybody's favorite, the air puff. The newer air puff's a lot lighter than the old ones.
And explain that. It blows air in certain areas of your eye?
It measures the glaucoma pressure, the intraocular pressure for glaucoma, and that it's just a quick little puff, and by the light measures how it indented the eye very slightly, and that tells us what the pressure is. And then we have a peripheral vision test. It's a little quicker and easier than some of the ones in the past, and that rules out everything from glaucoma to brain tumors, so we do screenings on that. Oh, and then we check the old prescription to know what you're used to, so we know what how much we're changing it, and just get an idea of what you're used to wearing.
Okay. So someone's sat down, gone through some of the pre-screening pieces here. Then what happens in terms of, is this something you get back with them later on after you've done the assessment, or right here after that? Where do we go next?
The technicians enter all of this in our computerized electronic records. And then we go into the next room for some additional testing, and then the patient will enter into my room. In the other room, we have the retinal photography that that takes a picture out to 200 degrees, so it gives me a much bigger view, similar to what would be if you had your pupils dilated.
Okay, so you wouldn't have to have your pupils dilated with this machine, correct?
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Avoid that process, right?
Not for everybody. Sometimes we still have to do that because there are things that I can see with the dilation that the pictures don't give me. But in a lot of patients, that would work fine if they don't like to get the drops.
Sure.
And then we have a couple other specialty pieces in there that assess for glaucoma and then also for macular degeneration. The one test measures the density of the pigment. It's a fairly new test, and it tells us if your pigment is less than average, that puts you at a higher risk for glaucoma, or I'm sorry, macular degeneration. The good news is that there are supplements that we can take that actually increases the amount of pigment that you have. And that, it's not a real expensive vitamin, but the better ones cost a little bit more, and I like to have people taking it that really need it versus just, a shot in the dark.
So the old adage, kind of like the, eat your carrots kind of thing, really does kind of ring true if you're talking about vitamins, right?
Right. Carrots aren't the best example, though. Actually, you want the deeper, darker fruits and vegetables like kale, broccoli, spinach, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. All of those foods are very rich in antioxidants and help slow down the progression of macular degeneration or the onset of macular degeneration. It helps build up the pigment. Most people don't get as much of those fresh fruits and vegetables as they should, so the nutritional supplement in the form of vitamin makes a big difference there.
So I assume in the eye care industry, it's much like the healthcare industry. The idea of preventative type procedures and healthy lifestyle choices are becoming more and more prevalent than just we deal with it when we end up with the issue.
And I'm really big on prevention and educating people about eating properly and keeping their eyes healthy, because if your body's not healthy, your eye's not going to be healthy either. I have a form that I give to patients about healthy lifestyles for your eyes and your vision, and it pertains a lot to people with diabetes, because diabetes can cause some serious eye health problems, and it's very important to have your sugar levels controlled well, and it's not just about getting the medication right, it's about eating the right foods and getting the right amount of exercise and sleeping well, getting vitamin D, a lot of different things that sometimes the family doctor doesn't have time to go over, and I make sure that I do because I want my diabetics to not to lose their vision.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I know we have a couple other areas we want to look at before we end the show today. I think we're going to go over to the would be your observation room, correctly?
Correct.
And this is where someone would come through here, and then they would end up seeing you much like they would in any other doctor office, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's go take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay, we've made our way over to Dr. Hopkins' office here, and this would be kind of the last place a patient would stop and actually consult with you after they've gone through their pre-screening, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And as you can see, I have an examination chair here and lots of I'll call it fancy equipment because I'm not used to the eye care industry, but tell us a little bit about what some of this equipment is used for and some of the predominantly common issues you see with folks' eyes once they make it to this area.
The instruments I use also for checking the health of the eyes are the slit lamp right here, and looking. That's used to look at the front of the eye and back inside the eye.
Okay.
Everybody recognizes this, getting better one or two. This is also the point spread function autorefractor, which is a little more specific about prescriptions for people that are having issues with night vision,
Okay.
or feel like their glasses aren't quite where it should be. It really refines it to 100th of a diopter versus a quarter of a diopter.
It really fine-tunes things there.
Fine-tunes
Yeah,
things,
okay.
right. And then my newest piece of equipment, my keratograph, this it's a corneal topographer. It also has the ability to take pictures of the front of the eye, and also especially checking the health for the front surface and dry eyes. It will allow me to see the functioning of the glands in the bottom that produce the oil for the tears. A lot of people have some blockage there.
Okay.
And we can do a lot with dry eyes now, going so far as nutritional supplements and eye drops,
Sure.
medication, both the artificial tears and the medication like Restasis that people have seen on TV. One of the reasons for the corneal topographer is also for me to do what's called Ortho-K. That's a form of myopia control, or used for myopia control. Basically, you wear a retainer lens while you sleep at night.
Okay.
And during the day, then, you can see without the contact lenses. So it's kind of like doing LASIK without it being permanent.
Okay.
It reshapes the eye. But what we've found in the process, this has been around for ages, it's actually has got FDA approval in 2002, so it's been around for a while and hasn't made a lot of headway because it's different and a lot of doctors are afraid of it. But that Ortho-K has been found to slow the progression of myopia anywhere from 50 to 100%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So kids don't have to end up having super bad prescriptions like mine, which is real exciting. And there's evidence showing that there's other things that we can do if the Ortho-K is not something that the parent or child is interested in. Bifocal contact lenses. There's actually some diluted eye drops that we can use that also slows down the progression. Big thing is get those kids outside before they get nearsighted. They found that the kids that spend at least 12 hours a week outside have a lower incidence of myopia.
Really? Okay.
And they think that bright light has something to do with it. So you can't duplicate it inside. And also a big factor is our diet. Countries that haven't taken on the westernized diet have a 2% incidence of myopia. We're up to, well, the increase in the United States since 1971 has increased by 66%.
Wow.
And some countries, like Asia, it's up in the 60 to 80%. Some of the urban areas, 80% of the kids are nearsighted.
Wow.
And again, it's eating that food, that sugar processed foods. We need to get away from that. Go to your farmer's market.
Right.
Eat the foods that don't have labels.
Right.
But it's multifactorial in that, yes, you are more likely to be nearsighted if your parents are nearsighted, but it's not 100%, and we can slow things down a lot by instituting some of these changes, but it needs to be done early.
Sure,
So the sooner we can get a hold of the kids and get things slow, we can slow it down.
When is the best time? I mean, for folks that are watching the show, you know, if you've got children, you know, when's the best time for first eye exam?
Before they start preschool. So by the time they're 3 or 4, they should have their eyes checked. And if your child, if you're nearsighted, but especially both parents are nearsighted, you need to get them in even before they start complaining. And also, they've found that if you don't keep the prescriptions up to date, or at one point they thought if you gave them less prescription than they needed, that would help slow it down, but they found that the exact opposite is true. So you want to keep those prescriptions up to date so they don't become more nearsighted.
Now, once someone is one of your patients, they've come in and on how, you know, is it a pretty regular basis what's the I guess cadence of visits that one
We
should?
we recommend yearly eye exams, especially as a child. It's very important that they get checked yearly so that they don't start missing things at school.
Sure.
And then adults between 20, well, when you're out of college, and if you're not on a computer, you might be able to go every 2 years until you hit your 40s. And then after that, we recommend yearly eye exams. But pretty much everybody needs to have their eyes checked every year because we just live in a different world these days.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely. Well, I know we want to wrap the show up here in just a few minutes, so we're going to head out front again. But let's make our way that way, and we'll wrap the show up with letting folks know a little bit how to get in touch with you and maybe how to become a patient here.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome back to Business Forward. I'm Jared Kale with the Lancaster-Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce, and this is the Young Professional Spotlight, sponsored by Cryo Communications. Today our spotlight is on Eric Croft. He's the branch manager of the East Main Street location of Fairfield National Bank. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, how's it going today?
Doing fine, doing fine. Let's jump right in and talk about a little bit about yourself and your background, maybe where you went to college, professional interests, things like that.
Well, I started OU 2006 at OUL. I went in there completely undecided on what my major should be, and then I had Professor Alt's class. I think he retired a couple years ago, and he taught economics, and I enjoyed it. It was interesting. Didn't have anything like that in my high school that I went to, and studied that. And then my senior year, I picked up on finance, mainly as just in all honesty, just to make my resume look better. It was no true love of that, but it ended up pairing really well with an economics degree. Then after that, within a few months of graduating down at OU Athens, I came up here and started working at Fairfield National.
Okay, talk a little bit about your time at Fairfield National. I know you've been at a couple different branches, I believe. You've kind of moved up a few different positions there, and now you're the branch manager. Talk a little bit about your path there at Fairfield National.
So it started in 2010. They had a management associate program, and it's pretty much college right after college. It's about a year-long study. There's no exact time frame where you go around to all the departments and services that Fairfield National Bank offers, and you just learn with people that have been in the banking profession for 20, 30 years that are employed there, and after that they kind of put you where their needs are and where your skills have demonstrated you should be. And that's when I went out to the Meyer branch, and then since June I've been at the East Main location.
Okay, excellent. And I know something about Fairfield National Bank that I've noticed and I think is well known in our community. You guys do a lot of volunteering through F&B Cares and through different initiatives. Talk a little bit about maybe the volunteering that you do through Fairfield National and maybe out on your own as well.
For the most part, the amount of volunteering I've done in the community definitely picked up with Fairfield National. They do a pretty good job at communicating what the needs are for different organizations in Fairfield County and then letting us know there might be a need here. They give us that information and set it up pretty nicely. So just in May, I know we have FMB Cares Day. I think last year we visited 12 or so organizations, and they just told us what their needs were for an 8 to 12 hour time frame, and we went and did that. So that's happening again in May. On a personal level outside of the bank, Young Professionals in Lancaster is the group I'm involved in, and that's the most of my volunteer time is spent there.
Excellent. Now you did mention the Young Professionals of Lancaster, and that's a group that was started by the Chamber of Commerce to help plug young professionals into the community and get them involved in the Chamber of Commerce and help, I guess, keep young talent here in the community and people like yourself that are making an impact. Talk a little bit about your involvement in the Young Professionals of Lancaster. You're on our board and you help us with our finances, the treasurer duties there. Talk a little bit about that.
So going back to when I started at Fairfield National Bank. When I left school in Athens, Lancaster wasn't a blip on my radar. I was looking mainly at Columbus, bigger city areas, because really I just didn't know. It's not that I had anything against Lancaster. I was born in Sugar Grove, loved the area. I just didn't know opportunities were available. And if it wasn't for my brother letting me know about the opportunity at FNB, I wouldn't have searched here. And that's kind of what drew me to the Young Professionals is I don't want good young workforce leaving just because they don't know about the opportunities. I think that's one of our goals is definitely just that communication between the needs of the community and letting people know where jobs are available, where organizations, where can you go into different social functions, kind of like Lancaster alive just with their kickball. We're doing a team with that just to get people involved and have a reason to stay, meet people, meet opportunities, and that's why it's the group I chose to pick, because I have a reason to, just from where in 2010 I didn't anticipate working here, and I'm glad I did in Lancaster.
Yeah, and you've been here for multiple years since.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, we talked about a lot of professional and a lot of work history, things like that. Well, I guess, what do you do when you're not working? What are some of your hobbies, things you enjoy outside of work and professional interests?
Well, I moonlight as a guitarist and singer for the band Go Analog. I did that in college. Took a couple-year hiatus from it, but we've been playing since January, usually in the Central Ohio area, Columbus, and it's fun. You should go see a show sometime. Very enjoyable.
Excellent. You might have to talk with Aaron Ohl. I hear that he works with some bands and might be interested in booking you somewhere.
Awesome.
There you go. I put in a plug for you. So, well, Eric, thanks for being our spotlight today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. We'll see you in around. So that was Eric Croft. He's the branch manager of the East Main Street location of Fairfield National Bank. And this has been the Young Professional Spotlight, sponsored by Cryo Communications.
As a company of young professionals, Cryo Communications is proud to sponsor this segment. We specialize in helping businesses and organizations get the right message to the right audience, at the right time, and in the right way. To learn more about Cryo Communications and how they can help you with your communication needs, visit them at cryocommunications.com.
That's low. That's low and below.
Look, he's blushing.
Seriously.
Business Forward Ribbon Cuttings is brought to you by the Frankie Smith Funeral Home. Respect for tradition, regard for change. Locations in Lancaster and Baltimore. Visit them at their website at funeralhome.com.
Okay, before we conclude here, I know we were having a conversation prior to the show. There's been some real breakthroughs in the way that people are looking at eye care, and you talked about genetic nutritional testing. Is that what I heard you say?
Absolutely. With a simple cheek swab, we can get your DNA that we test from the standpoint of how your body utilizes food. Why is that important? Well, if your body's not utilizing the food or the wrong foods in the proper way, your body has some overall low-grade inflammation. This inflammation can express itself in the eyes in the form of cataracts and macular degeneration for diabetics, diabetic retinopathy. From everybody else's standpoint, the rest of the body, irritable bowel syndrome, migraines, just a whole host of other problems.
Sure.
I had migraines, and foods with sulfur were triggers for my migraines.
Okay.
And ironically, I discovered that years ago, and the nutritional testing nailed it right on the head. But it was a long, hard battle trying to figure out what was causing my migraines.
Sure.
And now we can do it with a simple test. And it tells you what foods you should eat most of to help your body function the way it should, and which foods you should avoid. And so some foods that were on a list that you would think of as being great, like raspberries or avocados, may actually be harmful to an individual who has certain genetic SNPs in
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's-
very interesting. Definitely a different way to look at it. I mean, I'm sure this wasn't something they were thinking about 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And our genes are our genes, but how they express themselves are still up to the environment and the foods we eat. So you're not a slave to your genes. You can change things
Sure.
around. So that's the good
Sure.
news.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure being here in your offices, and we thank the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to come in and,
Well,
and
thank
take a
you.
look. For those folks that are watching and maybe want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? I'm assuming you have a phone number, website.
Oh, absolutely. Our phone number is 277-7550, and we're here Tuesday through Saturday. We also have a lovely website. It's DrAnnaHopkins.com, so DrAnnaHopkins.com. And I also have a Facebook page that we try to give some information about. Right now we're running some information about back to school, but there's I can also be contacted through the website as far as an email. And if you call us and we're not here, we'll call you back and set up the appointment. Just give us the information that we need.
Great. Well, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for your Chamber of Commerce membership. We enjoy the partnership.
All right. Thank you. It's been great being part of it.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that wraps up another Business Forward show. I want to thank Interphase Video for their partnership and production, and LSN as well. Until next time on Business Forward.